When did you buy your first home? Well, hey, it's Jenny Wallach in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And with the latest reports that have come out about first time home buyers, did you hear this? That the median age of a first time home buyer now is 40 years old. And that is the oldest that it has been in history. And that really got me thinking about my first home. And so I thought I would just share that fun story with you. There's so many lessons through all of our lives, aren't there? And so I think it's always good to reflect and to determine what you learned from those things. And there's quite a few in this story as well. So, first off, I got into real estate in 2001. That's right, almost 25 years ago. And I started my real estate career in Norman, Oklahoma. Not only is it God's country and the home of the Oklahoma Sooners, this is also where I had gone to school and I had graduated. I was working in a real job office situation and realized that I was ready for a change. So I got into real estate. Honestly, my start date was January 1st of 2001. And so I was at a part of a very small brokerage, just five of us, mainly agents in the office. And so I was quickly learning on the go in the field, going on appointments, shadowing, and learning the ins and outs of real estate. Well, I had known nothing about it beforehand. So this was quite the fire hose experience of me getting all in depth of all the ins and outs of real estate. And early on, my broker had recommended, obviously, that I buy a home, right? I was spending money on rent, and now I was able to purchase a home. And he obviously shared the value of home ownership, that now I was learning that path as well. Well, I didn't have money for a down payment. Now, back then, yeah, times were different. And I was grateful that I had my father that helped out with the down payment. But see, I found this little property, is a little bungalow in Norman in a pretty okay area, but I mean it was just me and it was safe enough. Two beds, one bath, super cute, historic. I love old homes still to this day. I've lived in many of these bungalows over the years that all look alike. But it was just perfect for a single person. And so the sales price, the listing price, you guys, was like $63,000. Now, again, I didn't have any money for a down payment. I asked my father. He graciously gifted me the down payment, but really that it wasn't much money, right? And so it was just 3% because back then I was purchasing it with an FHA home mortgage. So perfect for first time home buyer like me back then, small down payment, borrowed it from my dad, just needed some cash for closing costs, etc. And so that was great. I had my first home and enjoyed it, decorating and all the joys of home ownership. But because now I've got the real estate bug and I'm looking at pretty houses all the time, I found another home just a year later that was in a little bit better location, and it was a listing that was coming on the market and I wanted to buy it. Now, at this point, I still didn't have a lot of money, but I did have this home that did have some equity that maybe I borrowed some equity from to make a down payment on this new property. Now, that sales price back then was $109,000. I know
Wow.
these prices are just unreal to even imagine, but that was still a lot of money back then. And so I purchased this next home. In the meantime, my first cute little bungalow, I rented out. I had great tenants over those few years, usually single women is what I was attracted to and who wanted to live in my property. So they took great care of it, sometimes even making updates or improvements, which I was totally cool with. And so now I have my second home in just 2 years, which was great. And then it got to be 2004. 2004, I decided it was time for me to move back home to Tulsa. I had been gone for many, many years. I knew that I was coming up on a big milestone age called 30, that I wanted to be back near my family. And so I decided this was the time to make that move. Now, remember, I was in real estate, so I didn't have a 401k or a real employer other than myself. and my broker and my colleagues. So I just did what I thought I should do, was put some for sale signs in the front yards of both of my properties. So I'd made the decision, I'm moving back to Tulsa, and I put the sign in the yard. Now I'm living in a college town that real estate definitely during those days was moving pretty quick. Well, guess what? Sold both of them within a week. And the coolest part, of course, let me take a pause. Of course, I regret selling these houses now, but I can't wallow on that. I can only appreciate the lessons I learned, because the lesson I learned was the value of homeownership, first off, because I was able to sell both of these properties, only owning them for a few years at this point, and made $30,000. $30,000 in just a few years on these two properties. My first home I purchased when I was 28 years old, then 29, and now I'm about to be 30 and I'm going to move back home and I have cash in the bank. I was able to confidently make this very big life decision. It was easier for me to make that decision when I knew that I had the money to help support me on my move back home. Of course, then I was able to start my career all over again here in Tulsa, but I had that security in the bank. So the lesson here is that it can be a struggle sometimes, saving up for a down payment or borrowing from a family member, legally, of course, or finding ways to get into that first home can really be life changing. It can really, really allow you to grow your wealth and allow you the freedom to make decisions that you might not have been able to make otherwise. So, I would love to hear your first home story. How did that go for you? And in the end, do you think it's a good idea to go ahead and take the dive into buying a home? Let me know.